So, Jeremy, you've said you don't think that the film will achieve much. I mean, I don't suggest that what we've done over the last year or so is to increase awareness about living with Parkinson's, and this film is another good step in that direction, increasing awareness of quite how, Paul exemplifies this perfectly in the film, quite how difficult it is to live with Parkinson's.
How many people do you know who go around singing Gloria Gaynor? I don't.
I sing it all the time now.
Yes. I can't get the tune out of my head now. But, I mean...
It's not so much about Gloria Gaynor, though, is it? It's more about... Well, I think what we tried to do...
There are an awful lot of horrible diseases that people get.
Yes.
Very many of them are not dealt with very seriously. And I don't see why there should be any call for special treatment for Parkinson's people.
I don't think
I think we get mixed up.
And that's the end of Movers and Shakers. It's been great knowing you. Bye all.
We put into liquidation.
It was fun.
It was fun wanting us. Let's move on, because lots more has been happening besides this video on the Parkinson's Charter front and the demands in it. Gillian, various things happening, and we've got a great guest here who's been heavily involved working with us on that.
We have indeed, yes. What has been going on is that Wes Streeting, we went to see him before the election.
No, he came to see us.
Actually, you're right. He came
here.
to see us. We went to see the other lot, but he came to us. And he was, I think, very canny in coming to us, actually, because although Jeremy said there are a lot of illnesses out there, I think to look at health through the lens of one illness was probably quite clever for him, and for us, obviously, great, because he made all sorts of promises to us.
Well, one big promise.
One big promise,
Yeah.
but which sort of subsumed a lot of others. Yep. And Rowan's here to talk about that one big promise.
Rowan Waiths from Parkinson's UK, you've been working with us on this whole project.
Delightful experience.
What have we achieved so far in terms of the Parky Charter?
Well, hello. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I think the Parky Charter is already making a big difference, and we're really feeling that at Parkinson's UK. So what we've had for a while is the evidence and the data and the stories from people with Parkinson's, and some quite solid policy asks for the various people in power. But what you've helped us achieve is starting to get our voice heard and really get those policy asks, in front of the decision makers, and getting Wes to commit to 62,000 extra neurology appointments a year. That's no small thing. That's massive. I know it will take time for those to come into place, and who knows what will happen over the next few months, years, but really that commitment is just huge, and it gives us something to get our teeth into and keep holding them to account on that promise, so that people with Parkinson's start seeing lower waiting times and really get the care that they need. So that's one thing. The other thing that's been quite a big development since the Parky Charter was launched was that, well, you joined us. We had a meeting with the Department for Health and Social Care, the then Secretary of State, about Parkinson's, and that was on the back of writing to her, Victoria Atkins, about the Parky Charter. And we think because of that meeting, they have launched now a review in the Department for Health and Social Care into the project. Is looking at what we know and what we don't about Parkinson's in the areas of prevention, diagnosis, treatment and care.
I feel fairly certain that Wes Streeting would have given that little push when he got into office.
I think he might have done. We'll never know, but I think he might have done. So the fact that the Department for Health and Social Care is shining a spotlight on Parkinson's, which, let's be honest, is a Cinderella condition, often gets forgotten about, not one of those conditions that makes the
And they
headline.
admitted during the meeting that they didn't have any data on Parkinson's.
Exactly. So the fact that they've committed to looking at it in detail and looking at where the funding's going, what the gaps are, and what we should do in future is really good. I know that the proof will be in the pudding, and let's see whether this project actually materialises into more funding and better support for people with Parkinson's. But it's definitely a really good step. And
If the project does go ahead,
yeah,
which it sounds 100% it will.
They-
We'll
they
never
said it
know.
will go ahead.
Yes, they said it will. I was just being Jeremy there for a second.
yeah,
And they do find gaps.
yes.
They're going to have to launch more research, aren't they? I mean, they can't just say, "Look, we found gaps," and leave it at that.
Well, I think it would be difficult for them for their own project to
Yeah.
find gaps, and it's not just about clinical research. It's about, for example, why care isn't the same in all parts of the country. Why people get different diagnostic experiences depending on where they look. It could cover a whole range of different things.
So there'll be a comprehensive look at how people with Parkinson's are treated.
Jeremy said a moment ago that there was no good reason for special treatment for Parkinson's, but I think that you have put your finger on it. Parkinson's has been the Cinderella
Yeah.
condition for too long. We're just playing catch up at the moment. We've still got miles to go before we catch up with the cancers and cardio.
And also, we don't have a Kevin Sinfield and Rob Burrow, which is what,
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, they'd be mad not to look at Parkinson's. It's the fastest growing neurological condition in the world. And we really haven't given it sufficient attention in the UK. I think you've had this stat on your podcast before that the UK sits at the bottom of the European league tables for number of neurologists per head of population, with 44 out of 45. The waiting list for neurology is currently 234,000, which is bottom of the league table for specialties in England. So all of these things show that really it just hasn't had the right attention. And
That's kind of isn't it a bit irritating for people like you who've been plugging away at this for ages and ages? Takes a few sort of 6 Z-list celebrities to come along.
Who are you calling Z-list?
Yes, exactly.
That's me.
Anyhow,
You're A.
Well, no, I'm delighted. We feel like we're getting somewhere, and it's we haven't seen the results
Where does the
yet.
figure of 62,000 come from?
them. Where's streeting?
What it is there's a general plan to up appointments across every specialist, and they've basically divided it for neurology.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think that, to be frank, that was probably a good bit of opportunism by West Streeting. They already had this plan, a general plan, and they just said, well, let's divide.
But
that-
it's
that
good
by
that we
X.
have that number
Yeah,
now to hold
exactly.
them to account. And obviously it's not just neurology, it's care of the elderly too, and we need to keep the pressure on there. But I think this new project at the Department for Health and Social Care, that is going to happen. It's Exeter Policy Research Unit have been commissioned to do it, and we at Parkinson's UK will be helping insert the voice of people with Parkinson's. And that will just give us a really good platform on which to keep shouting and keep raising the profile.
And
Do we know the sort of timescale?
Not officially. I think it's going to take a fair bit of time, probably at least a year, because it's a big topic.
Yeah, it's still quite big.
And we want them to do it properly. In the meantime, there's obviously lots that we'll be chomping away at in the meantime.
And coming back to the video, I mean, do you see that as playing a part in the campaign?
I do. So I hate to disagree with you, Jeremy, and that's a very
No, feel free.
that puts me in a very vulnerable
No, it's fine.
But
You got the
I do
judge
think
behind you.
I do think that things like the video just keep Parkinson's in the news, keep people talking about it, keep the awareness there, and that just gives us the platform that we need to keep shouting about it.
Well, thank you very much indeed, and we're incredibly grateful to you and the various charities that have been involved for coming in with this. It feels like a kind of united front, really.
Absolutely, yeah. It's wonderful to work with you and our partners at Cure Parkinson's and Spotlight Young Onset Parkinson's Disease. Really getting together and all of us pushing forward. We all want the same thing. We all want better care for people with Parkinson's, and plenty for everyone to do. So yeah.
Actually, if we are saying our thank yous, we should say thank you to Caroline Russell, she was the one who took us by the scruff of our neck and said, "Oi,
Yeah.
what are you doing on April the 11th?"
The chief executive of Parkinson's
Yes.
UK.
Get Aggie, she said. Get Aggie.
Yeah,
And we
exactly.
did. Okay, well, thank you very much, Rowan.
Can I give you one other piece of news?
Yes.
Yes, please.
So the other piece of news, the thing that really, really bothers people with Parkinson's and is included in the charter, is access to benefits. And recently, we're one of a small number of organisations that have been invited to join the advisory board for the providers that assess benefits. So
Wow.
it's a small thing, and the proof will be in the pudding. Can we use our position on that board to make change happen? But it puts us in direct contact with the assessment providers, and we'll really be making your case about
Yes.
you know.
You will point out to them at the earliest opportunity that Parkinson's is incurable.
100%. That's one of the main points.
It's
You know,
one
it
of the
doesn't
main
get
points.
better. People,
Oh, well, we may be coming on in our next item to something like that. But
well, that's true. But people for now don't need to be reassessed
Exactly.
unless they are needing more benefits. They definitely don't need to be reassessed from a less benefits
I mean,
perspective.
it is.
But when you think about where we started,
yeah.
when you think about where we started when we first thought about the charter, I really didn't think we'd be this far ahead. But,
No, I didn't think we'd get it off the ground at all, to be absolutely honest.
Well, thank you very much, Rowan.
Thank
That was
you
great.
for having me. Thank you.
Yes.
Quick pause.
Yes,
swap
I was
seats with
going to
Kevin.
say something, but I got a fuck off judge signal there.
Yeah.
I just